Court is calling 2022 CR 8297, State of Texas versus Logan Armstrong. Can I have parties announced for the record for the state?
Daniel Escobar for the state of Texas.
Defense.
Mike Lavender for the defense.
And are you Miss Armstrong? All right, you're gonna have to make sure you speak up. All right, you entered a plea on November 16th of no contest to evading arrest, detention with a vehicle. According to the plea bargaining agreement, punishments be assessed at 4 years. The state is opposed to your application. They're taking in consideration 2022 CR 8298. Have both parties had a chance to review the PSI report, state?
Yes, Your Honor.
Defense?
Yes.
All right, any objections to the PSI report, state?
No, Your Honor.
Defense? I'm gonna need you all to be quiet in the box while we're on the record. Deputy, is there any way to move them to the other end, perhaps? All right, state, do you have any witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
Defense, any witnesses?
Only the defendant.
All right, can you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? All right, you can lower your hand, state your name for the record. All right, defense?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. State, Ms. Armstrong, you understand that the judge has to make a very difficult decision today, whether or not to grant your applications for probation and or deferred adjudication or sentence you according to the state's recommendation. What did you want to tell the judge?
I just wanted to tell the judge that I am trying to get my life together. I'm trying to better myself. I'm trying to use every avenue that's available to help me get back on track and be a better person. That I don't have to go out and commit crimes and stuff like that.
And Ms. Armstrong, two individuals submitted letters of support for you. Could you identify who those people are?
Tanisha Daly is my caseworker at Austin Area Urban League and Kia. I'm sorry, you're not speaking. Tanisha Daly is my caseworker at Austin Area Urban League and Kia Redmond is my.
And the last time we were in court, you represented that you were anticipating getting a job. Have you secured a job?
Yes.
All right, is there a reason why everybody is whispering? I cannot hear.
I can't either.
So, everyone in the box, I'm gonna need you to bring it down a notch. And everyone who's in front of me, speak up so I can hear. I'm thinking everybody wants me to be able to hear so I can make a ruling.
Could you describe to the court what job you have secured?
I work as a monitor in a homeless shelter in Austin.
And how many days a week do you work?
It's part-time, so only on the weekends right now.
Is it full day weekends? You're anticipating working full-time eventually with this
Yes.
organization?
Yeah.
Now, you understand your criminal history is rather extensive, correct?
Yes.
And what can you explain to the judge in regards to what happened in your life that would cause you so many arrests, although there's only 6 convictions? But what happened in your life that would cause you to leave that sort of lifestyle?
I was running the streets. Being
Now, pass the witness.
Okay. Ms. Armstrong, who else was in the car with you on the day of this offense?
Tamara Satellite.
Was there anyone else?
Tamara Akins and Tamara's son.
Okay. And so during this offense, whenever the police stopped him, he was unrestrained in the back seat, correct?
Right.
How old was he?
He's 1.
Okay, so I also wanted to go just briefly into your criminal history, just very briefly again. So you were placed on deferred adjudication back in 2020 for engaging in open crime. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And that was actually revoked in 2022. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Pass it, John.
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
I have a question. You want to explain to me why you're going into Burlington's coat factory, stealing coats, and then running from the police with a 1-year-old in the car? Somebody explain to me, what were your thought process? And no offense against Burlington Coat Factory. I've been in there, never been able to find anything, but I don't understand what you thought you were doing, going into Burlington Coat Factory and taking items that don't belong to you.
At the time, I was just trying to, I went in there with intentions on getting clothes and selling so that I could have money.
All right, I'm gonna need y'all to be quiet in the box. So I don't understand why people don't get a job. Whatever happened to getting a job? And whatever happened to, getting a job instead of coming to court and then trying to get your life in order and say, oh, look, I've got a job. People do that every single day. And a lot of times people work jobs they don't want to work. But you know what? When they have children, they knock their pride aside and they'll do whatever they want to do. You think the people who are working at McDonald's want to work fries, although there's nothing wrong with that. But do you think that's their life's dream? I'm going to work fries for the rest of my life. But you know why they do it? Because they got bills to pay. And they're not going to Burlington's coat factory, making other people's job hard by stealing items, then running. And I always read the police report. I always read the PSI report and everything that's given to me. So you and your friend go into Burlington, stealing coats or whatever you're stealing from them. Then you get in a car with a 1-year-old unrestrained. And did the 1-year-old go into Burlington's with you all while y'all were stealing it? Did y'all leave him in the car by himself? Well, I mean, it's not, I believe you either know or you don't know. Where was the 1-year-old?
It was 3 people. One of them just walked away. Police wasn't in contact.
So the 1-year-old, did the 1-year-old come in Burlington's coat factory with you all? So the 1-year-old is left out in the car with some third person. You don't know their name.
Tamara Aiken.
So you're the only person who went in Burlington coat factory to steal?
No, it was 2 girls. Their both name was Tamara.
Oh, okay. So then the other girl is out in the car, I guess the getaway car, for want of a better term, while y'all go in and steal coats. So explain to me, how did this plan happen? Were you all just sitting around the table and saying, hey, let's go steal coats from Burlington? How did you pick Burlington's coat factory? Why not Marshall's? Why not Ross? Why not Dress for Less? Why not the HEB? So explain to me how you all came up with a plan. Let's go steal coats from Burlington.
It wasn't a plan. It was just at any moment.
Oh, y'all just driving around like, hey, there's a Burlington. Let's go in there and steal. Is that the way you're telling me it went down? So how did it go down?
I just went in and saw something in the
And what did you take?
Tommy Hilfiger.
All right. So you go into Burlington and you immediately grab the Tommy Hilfiger. Who requested the Tommy Hilfiger? All right. Any other questions?
No.
Done from the state, Your Honor.
Okay. I'll hear argument.
Your Honor, the defendant does have an extensive criminal history, including at least one revocation on the charge that she's on probation on. In addition, facts of this case are pre-harrowing. She had a 1-year-old child in the backseat and she decided to elude police officers and try to drive away instead of just pulling over. The state would recommend that she do time in TDC. This has been something that's been escalating. It's been building up to this point. And at this point, she put someone in that car at risk who had no choice whether or not to be in that car.
All right. And I'm assuming this engaging in organized crime is listed as a misdemeanor. Was that filed as a misdemeanor?
It was out of McClellan County, Your Honor. I don't know the specifics.
Was that a misdemeanor?
Yes,
How much time did you do on that one?
45 days.
All right. Defense?
Thank you, Your Honor. I believe Miss Armstrong kind of grew up too fast. She was born in Louisiana. She's 25, 27 years old now. She has a high school diploma. According to PSI, there are no felony convictions. And also what's important, I think, is that there are no drug offenses. Typically, when you see thefts, you see drugs. She was not stealing to satisfy any kind of drug habit. There are only 6 misdemeanor convictions, although I say only, but there's several arrests. Only 6 misdemeanor convictions. She was a member of the Zion Baptist Church. She has two children. The father, one of the children who has no criminal history, was tragically shot and killed in 2017. So she was supporting that child. That's the oldest child. She does volunteer work at the home. And she's making these learning boards that while she was detained under this case and under the bond, she was making these learning boards for children to help not only her children, but other children. And it appeared to have picked up, and several people have been buying these learning boards that she's been making for preschool children. She has a mother that's very supportive that she lives with in Temple, Texas. Her father passed away. She is a single mother of these two children. She has siblings that also support her. And she has worked very hard to getting this job, and she wants one last chance. And I'm told her it would be her last chance. This is the first felony. And I've stressed upon her that this is very serious, that if she has to comply with every single condition, that she needs to make a copy of the conditions and keep them all over the house if she has to, because I don't want to see her back. She has no intention of coming back here unless it's a discharge of her probation or deferred adjudication. That's it. Thank you.
What does he mean you grew up too fast? I don't understand that.
Well, I think with her, she was with the kind of people that she kind of lost her childhood when she was doing adult things with adult people and getting her involved in things and made bad choices.
All right. All right, this is what the court is going to do. The court is going to find you guilty, sentence you to 3 years in the prison, give you credit for any time served, taking consideration 2022 CR 8298. Court will retain jurisdiction, showing you what's entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendants' Rights to Appeal. Did you review that document with your attorney? Did you understand it? Did you review that document with your?
This is the document on that you signed the last time regarding no right to appeal.
Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it? All right, because this is a plea bargain agreement, because I followed your plea bargain agreement, and because you waived your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. Do you understand?
Can I ask,
Sure.
before I'm taking custody, can I see my kids outside?
No, there are some security issues, so that can't happen. Who's outside with your children?
My, boys,
How long have you known this boyfriend?
almost 2 years. We have my youngest kid.
No. Court is calling 2022 CR 11918W, State of Texas versus Jacob Nathaniel Glandon. Can I have parties announced for the record for the state,
Oscar Salinas.
for the defense?
Kurt Francie.
And are you Mr. Glandon?
Yes, ma'am.
According to the plea bargain agreement, punishment is to be assessed at a cap of 4 years. This looks to be $1,000 fine. There are no applications. The state is taking in consideration CM numbers 96675 and 96677. Have both parties had a chance to review the PSI report?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objections to the PSI report?
No, Your Honor.
All right, and according to the plea bargain agreement, the defendant entered a plea of no contest to possession of child pornography. It is a cap of 4 years. State, is there anything you wish to argue? Do you have any witnesses?
State would reserve for rebuttal, Judge. No witnesses.
All right, defense, do you have any witnesses?
Well, no, Your Honor, I do have a report. I'll just like to enter for, put in the record from his treatment provider that he was attending. It's just 2 paragraphs describing what he did. So I'd like it to be in the record so that parole, if they get the records, we have this.
All right, any objections to defense exhibit 1?
No.
All right, if you'll have it marked.
I'm on for defense exhibit number 1, which is a 2-paragraph report from Mark Harris, just describing the treatment that Jacob underwent. From day one, Jacob was.
All right, defense, just a moment. Defense exhibit number 1 then is admitted without objection. Any other witnesses or evidence?
No witnesses or evidence. Right?
All right, defense, the court will hear argument.
Judge, from day one, Jacob was remorseful, even upon his arrest. He was very upfront with the officers, which is kind of unusual, I think, in these cases, is that you have somebody that right from day one takes responsibility and wants to better himself. He's was in the military. I think he served in Afghanistan. He's had kind of a tumultuous upbringing. I think that may have contributed, but we don't know that whether it contributed, but he had a very tumultuous upbringing, moving all the time, unable to establish probably good relationships with people because of his moving. And upon this arrest, basically admitted to the officers. Right away wanted to go into treatment, went into treatment. And seems to really acknowledge that it was helpful to him. He's gained some insight into his issues. And he acknowledges that he didn't at the time understand the harm this was causing other people. And I think that's one of the benefits of the treatment, was that he realized the harm it was causing.
I don't in the PSI report, he says this is the fetish.
Well, yeah, but that's his description. You can see when he talks to the counselor, he realizes in the PSI, he does say he realizes that the harm it was causing, he didn't realize at the time, but now he does. Actually, you say whether I have a witness, I'd like to call actually.
All right,
Jacob. Jacob, is there anything you'd like to?
all right, you want to raise your right hand for me? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you can lower your hand, state your name for the record.
Jacob Landon.
All right, defense.
Jacob, if you could, you kind of if you could for the judge, just describe after the offense, what actions you took and so forth to try to gain insight into what was going on with you in your life. So forth.
Talked a lot with my family, fiance. I was open with them about it and agreed therapy was best. They're very supportive of the decision. Therapy opened my eyes to a lot of it. I learned a lot about the pathology and physiology behind the decision. We started with Mark Harris. I started doing like a healthy sexuality workbook, and they're doing weekly meetings. I thought it was very helpful.
You could tell us where were you working prior to this arrest? What were you doing? What was your career?
I was a EMT and a nurse with the Air Force. I worked at Wilford Hall here on Lackland. I've been doing that for 10 years since right out of high school.
Did you serve it all overseas?
Yeah, I went to Afghanistan for about 7 months.
And obviously, what effect has this had on you?
It's destroyed it. I've lost absolutely everything. My discharge was on March 8th. I mean, not March 8th, December 8th, just this past month. This is very rough. I didn't realize how much my actions were going to cost me until it was all gone.
Do you have anything else you want to say to the court?
No, I'm sorry. I realize what I've done, and I know it was a mistake. I don't have any way to actually make up for my actions, but if I could, I would.
Well, it wasn't a mistake. It was a
Yes,
choice.
Yes, ma'am.
Any questions?
Yes, Judge.
All right, you may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. As a nurse, what unit were you assigned to?
59 in DUS. I was working on the ER last.
Were you working closer near kids?
Yes, sir.
When did you realize or become aware that you were sexually attracted to children?
uh, Probably a couple of years ago. Just gradual progression from pornography to more deviant versions of pornography. It's not something I acted on in life.
No further questions.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, the girlfriend who's supporting him, does she have children?
No, we were talking about kids prior to all this, but things were delayed, obviously.
Okay. Anything else from either side?
No, Your Honor.
State will just reserve for rebuttal to argument.
All right. The, according to the plea bargain agreement, it's a cap of 4 years.
Yes, Judge, I would ask the court to at least consider going down from the 4 years. I think it's a little unusual in my experience having a client that from initial meeting to the whole case was very remorseful and very never in a denial situation of what was evolving and so forth, which I think is pretty unusual in these type cases to want to get on top of it and look into it and understand himself. I would just ask the court to consider a 3-year sentence.
All right. Does anyone want to address the issue that his girlfriend is still with him, that he's just told me that he's sexually attracted to children, and that before this came out, they were thinking about having children? I'm assuming that once he's released from prison, they're still going to be having children. Does anyone want to address that issue?
Can you address it?
I don't know what to say to that, ma'am. That's, like I said, it's nothing I would ever act on. It's nothing I ever planned to act on. It was,
Well, I mean, you testified that it was a progression for you.
yes, ma'am.
So what's the next progression?
Hopefully nothing now. I'm trying to seek treatment and better myself and correct my behavior. And
Because I think that we may be jumping way ahead of the fact that I think it's at least probably from a uninterested party looking at this, that is the fact of whether his girlfriend will even be around when he gets out of prison, I think is speculative. And he is trying to was going to counseling, will probably continue counseling after he gets out.
Well, I do have to consider future safety.
Yeah.
There are plenty of women out there with children who want to hang their star to whomever they hang their star to. All right.
Statutorily, he'd also be a lifetime sex offender registry.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand that, but. All right, is there anything else?
Yes, Judge, just to point out, to kind of piggyback off what Mr. Grancy said, as soon as the case was brought over to me, they immediately came to me and were looking for a resolution and take responsibility. That's the reason for the cap of 4 years, Judge. Wasn't dragged out. The only reason why the case took a while to get in front of you is for my schedule and Mr. Grancy's schedule conflicting over the course of time. But as the court heard from testimony, he participated in this marketplace of going and obtaining sexually explicit, sexually abused material of children. He's also made an admission that he has an attraction towards that. State feels that a 4-year sentence is appropriate in addition to the lifetime registration.
All right, this is what the court is going to do. Court is going to sentence you to 4 years in the prison, give you credit for any time served, taking in consideration CM numbers 96675, 96677, and there's chapter 62 registration. Is there anything else with regards to sentencing?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, I'm showing you what's entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendants' Rights to Appeal. Did you review that with, he needs to have it. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it and did you sign it?
yes, ma'am.
All right, because this is a plea bargain agreement, because I followed your plea bargain agreement, and because you waived your right to appeal, he keeps that. You do not have the court's permission to appeal. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Because this is a felony conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question over what a weapon or ammunition is, you'll need to speak to an attorney. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, we can go off the record. Good luck to you. You need to continue with treatment, okay?
That's fine.
Is there something for me to sign?
Yes, I'll get that for you right now, Judge. Additionally, we agreed that the destruction of the devices that contain the sexually explicit material would be destroyed.
Yeah, we
So
have no
that-
objection.
All right, thank you. All right, it's Sebastian Johnny Castillo. Court is calling 2023 CR 0527, State of Texas versus Sebastian Johnny Castillo. Can I have parties announced for the record for the state?
Jason Garrett, Your Honor.
Defense,
Garrett Shurak for the defendant.
are you Sebastian Castillo?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you entered a plea on March 30th to count one, paragraph B, no contest. According to the plea bargaining agreement, punishment is to be assessed at 5 years in the prison. There's an affirmative finding of deadly weapon. State is not making any recommendations to your application. There's an affirmative finding of family violence, and then there's to be no contact with several parties. Did you have a chance to review the PSI report, counsel?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
State,
Yes.
any objections to the PSI report?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, the state is silent. So any witnesses, defense?
One of the witnesses, I just have my defendant.
All right, do you wish to call him?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, can you raise your right hand for me? Do you solemnly swear affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, Your Honor.
You can lower your hand, state your name for the record.
Sebastian Johnny Castillo.
Defense,
Mr. Castillo, do you want a statement you want to make to the court? I just like to say, I'm sorry to my mom, my brothers and sisters. How old were you when this happened? I was 17. Okay, were there some family dynamics going on in this situation with your step parents and your siblings? Yes, sir. What was exactly going on? You recall? I was being beaten and I got kicked out.
I'm sorry, you were being what?
Beaten. No further questions.
All right, who are you saying was beating you?
My stepfather.
And where's the proof of this?
Just his, were any police reports made on this? No.
Well, did he tell the school?
You tell the school you were getting beaten? I was kicked out and they went to withdraw me at the school and the cop was there, and whenever they were taking me back home, they kicked me out and I was out for 3 days.
No, my question still has not been answered. So he's saying that his stepfather was beating him at the home. So did he ever report it to the school? That's either yes or no. All right. So where's the proof? Because what I have is I have him going to a home. I have him where they say that he threatened to shoot up the school. That's why the mother called. And then I have him going back to the home and they're saying that he pointed a gun on them.
Judge, I'm saying here that I think what led to this was they, for some reason, the step parents wanted him out of the situation. He denies that he ever made a threat to shoot up the school. He says that was a false threat. I think they just wanted him out of the house. When this happened, you were actually living with your grandparents. Is that correct? Yes, sir. And if you get probation, that's who you would live with? Sir. And when this happened, you were what, 17? Yes, sir. And do you do any alcohol or drugs? No, sir.
Now, according to the police report, it says S1 and S2. S1 grabbed a handsaw. And you're S1. It says S1 grabbed a handsaw and attempted to saw through the lock to the gun safe. S1 then found a grinder and cut through the lock. S1 and S2 grabbed multiple guns from the safe and gathered them together. The cousins who went with S1 were waiting outside the laundry room with guns in their hands. S1 and S2 also gathered other listed items as well. Victim 3, 4, and 5 were all sitting in the living room sofa. Victim 3 said that S1 and S2 went into the living room and kitchen and had some of the guns pointing at them. S1 told victim 3 to shut the F up or he will shoot them. S1 and S2, along with S1's cousins, left the location with all the items he took. Once they left the location, V3, which is victim, locked the doors. Victim 2 arrived shortly after and called out to victim 3 to open the door. That was when victim 3 told victim 2 what happened. Victim 2 then called victim 1, who called the police to make a report. So, anybody want to address that? Because victim 3 is a juvenile. Victim 4 is a juvenile. Victim 5 is a juvenile. So,
You're shaking your head.
No, no.
are you saying you didn't take these items?
No, ma'am.
I mean, it's what you pled to. All right, is there anything else?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, I'll hear argument.
Judge, at the time of the incident, the defendant was 17 years old. It typically it sounds like it was a family dispute matter. Allegations are of guns being pointed, no shots were fired. It's evident that the parents and stepmother and stepfather do not want him in the location. That's not a problem. He's young, he's got his whole life ahead of him. I think he realizes he made a mistake in that situation. Maybe his anger being removed from the family caused him to kind of have a moment of basically being stupid.
And see, I can understand his position if there were people in the home where this was not their stepfather as well. So this is what the court is going to do. Court is going to find you guilty, sentence you to 5 years in prison, give you credit for any time served. There's an affirmative finding of deadly weapon, an affirmative finding of family violence. There's to be no contact with Vivian Castillo, Seth Castillo, Stephanie with an I, Castillo, Doyle, Poor, Doyle, and Oliver Castillo. With regards to the restitution amount, the court does not, they're asking for $45,000 in restitution. The court has nothing before it to suggest that restitution should be $45,000, and no information on restitution has been presented to the court, so the court is not ordering restitution. I'm going to show you what's entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendants' Rights to Appeal. You won't probably go around. Because this is a plea bargaining agreement, because I followed your plea bargaining agreement, and because you waived your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. And because this is an affirmative finding of family violence, and also because this is a conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question over what a weapon or ammunition is, you'll need to speak to an attorney. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, good luck to you. I know we're off the record. I know you're young, and 5 years seems like a lot of time.
Yes.
Time does go by quickly, but you need to start bettering yourself. If there is some type of mental health issue going on, or some other issue that you have, drug issue, or some type of trauma that you've suffered, you can ask for help and they will give it to you. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, good luck to you.
Good luck.
Court is calling 2020 CR 6408, State of Texas versus Fabian Vega. Could I have parties announced for the record for the state?
Jason Garahan, Your Honor.
Defense.
Eduardo Jimenez, Your Honor.
And are you Mr. Vega?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you entered a plea of no contest on February 21st to the offense of murder. You entered a plea of true to the enhancement. The court found the enhancement true based upon your plea of true to the enhancements in States Exhibits 1 and attachments. And the court found there was sufficient evidence to find you guilty, and the court found you guilty. According to your plea bargaining agreement, punishment is to be assessed at a cap of 25 years in the prison. There's an affirmative finding of a deadly weapon, and the state is taking consideration 2020 CR 6409, night mag number 686664, county court cause number 674688. Have both parties had a chance to review the PSI report, state?
Yes, Your Honor.
Defense?
Yes, we have, Your Honor.
Any objections to the PSI report, state?
No, Your Honor.
Defense?
No, Your Honor.
All right, state, any witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
Defense, any witnesses?
Yes, one witness, Your Honor.
All right, call your witness.
The defense would call Brenda Torres.
Brenda Torres. Can you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? All right, I'm gonna need you to keep your voice up so that the court reporter can hear and I can hear. All right, if you can state your name for the record and spell it.
Brenda Torres.
And spell it.
Brenda Torres, Torres.
All right, and sometimes I ask for people to spell their name so that they can practice keeping their voice up. And so I can test whether or not the court reporter can hear. All right, defense.
Ms. Torres, what is your relationship to the defendant?
Right.
Be speaking
His wife.
into the microphone, not to me. Okay, his wife. Do you have a child together?
Yes, we do.
Such
I have
child,
a 6-year-old son. His name is Xavier.
6-year-old son. What grade would that put him in?
He's in kindergarten. He's about to graduate next year.
Okay. How long have you known the defendant?
And that is 14.
And when was the child born? How many years thereafter was the child? 2 years later. And what separated you at that point from Mr. Vega?
He was in juvenile.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna need you to speak up.
He was in juvenile. And so we were unable to be together. Unable to be together.
Okay, what kind of person did you know Mr. Vega to be at that time?
Very emotional, loving, and caring. And open-minded.
Okay, so here's the thing. You're gonna have to speak up and you need to talk the way you're talking to people if you're not in court, because nobody can hear you. And if I can't hear you, guess what? You might as well not testify, because then I won't be able to consider anything. So you're gonna have to keep your voice raised. Do you see the level I'm at? That's the level you need to be. I know sometimes you're nervous, but if you want me to hear what you're saying, I can only hear it if you speak up, okay?
How old are you now, Ms. Torres?
I'm 22.
You're 22
Yes,
and you have a 6-year-old child.
I do.
Have you raised that child alone?
I have.
That's not an easy thing to do, is it?
No, it's not.
Is it easier to keep your voice up so everybody can hear you? All right, let's do that then. Okay, so you say you were separated from Mr. Vega at the point that you were pregnant because Mr. Vega, repeat what you said,
He
please.
was in juvenile at the time. That's when I was pregnant.
Were you ever reunited with Mr. Vega?
He came for a home visitation and we were together, but then after that, he turned himself in since he was for years after that.
Okay. While he was in jail, did you have any communication or contact with Mr. Vega?
Yes, he talked on the phone and he's written me letters for all these years.
Without citing quotations from those conversations or those letters, how would you describe them in general?
Very emotional and loving, and I've never felt any less love than him after all these years. It's remained the same.
Did he ever bring up, for example, anything about his son?
Yes, I know he loves Xavier and we don't want to explain anything to him right now until he's old enough to understand.
So your son's 6 years old, but he doesn't know anything about his father?
No, he doesn't.
Does he know his father's name?
Doesn't.
When do you think you might be willing to share those things with your son? He's about 8. Okay. And how often would you speak to Fabian or Mr. Vega rather, while he was in jail?
Recently it's been a lot lately, but before it was only the first 4 times a month. It really wasn't that often. It was very difficult to talk and not being able to be together.
Mhm.
There was just a lot of emotion there.
Okay. Did he ever express remorse for the
Yes, he's apologized sincerely. Still apologize for not being able to be there and for his actions keeping him away from us. I've forgiven him.
what do you look forward to, if anything?
To coming home and being able to create the family that we started in the first place.
How do you care for your son as a single mother? Do you have a job, for example?
I do. I'm a manager at Whataburger. At Whataburger.
And are you this, how do you, who cares for your, well, he goes to school while you're at your work?
At work, yes.
Okay,
And then
Alright.
it's not, he's with his grandma,
with your grandmother or
my
Faith?
mom.
With your mom,
Mhm.
okay. So your mom's been part of the child's life as well?
Yes, sir.
What does your mom think about Mr. Vega at some point reuniting with your family?
She's ready. She wants me to tell Xavier about him already so we can have contact. Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with the court before?
I just want to say that it's hard to see who he is inside, but he's right in front of you, but he's still a person. He's still his been and a father. And should deserve to come with us.
Pass the witness, Your Honor.
Any questions?
Just a couple questions, Your Honor. Ma'am, how old is your son?
6.
6. So he's born in 2017 or 2016. How much time did the defendant, Fabian Vega, spend with that son back then?
None, because he was in juvenile.
So none. Has he, and he's never seen him,
He's seen him.
but he's participated in this son, this 6-year-old, your son's life, how much?
None, because he's been in juvenile and in jail.
He's in juvenile in jail, but he was not in jail when he committed this murder.
Yes, I know.
Okay, so how much time did he spend with the son then?
He didn't.
Okay, thank you. No further questions, Your
All
Honor.
right, what's your son's last name?
Becca.
All right, thank you.
Judge, we have. May I go?
Yes.
Okay.
Any further witnesses?
No further witnesses, Judge, just allocution from the defendant.
All right. He's going to be subject to cross-examination. I understand what allocution is, but if he wants to give his statement, he's going to be subject to cross-examination. He gave up the right to remain silent when he entered his plea.
All right, let me just check with him and then see what he says.
Okay.
Your Honor, he would like to allocute.
All right, can you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you can lower your hand. State your name for the record.
Fabian Vega.
All right, defense.
I believe he just wants to share with the court some few reports.
Yes, ma'am. I want to say that I know I took a lot that I can't get back, and I want to apologize to my victim's family for so much pain that I caused them and for their loss. And I regret everything I did. So emotional and stuff like that. I know I'm going to prison, and I would want to get myself right over there by getting my GED because I never finished high school. Take drug classes. I had a problem with drugs in the past, and take parenting classes to better myself to go home to be a good father to my son and just go home clean and be positive out there and don't find myself in no more of the situations like I'm in right now. And I ask that you show mercy on me on the Defendants. A wife and a son that need me out there, and I like to go back to them home after that.
Any questions?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Vega, in your.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Vega, you stated in when you were asked about this incident here, you said that in here it says, my neighbors told me them where I was, my name, and that I had tattoos. I tried to fight it with self-defense. So are you saying this is self-defense?
No, sir.
Okay, but so that's wrong in here, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so did you lie in here?
No,
Excuse me?
no, sir.
But it says self-defense here.
I was in fear of my life at that moment. I've been shot at, but he seemed proud in the past, so it was out of fear, I guess.
So do you feel that you had a right to kill that day?
No, sir. I feel like I should have handled the situation a lot like different. It was
out of fear, I guess, like my reaction.
You know, you didn't just, you killed one individual, but then you shot 3 individuals that day. You do realize that, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that you were shooting into a park, Father Benavides Park. You're aware of that.
Yes, sir.
And there are people out there that you were randomly shooting at. You're aware of that.
Yes, sir.
And then you say a witness of yours backed out. Who was the witness?
My roommate Caleb.
Caleb was willing to testify against you. You do realize that.
Yes, sir.
So how did he back out? Because he was going to tell the truth?
I don't know.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, anything else?
Mr. Vega. Did you grow up your entire childhood with both your parents?
No, sir.
Can you please explain that to me?
I grew up on a CPS care, so I was never around my mom or dad, and I was always like, I grew up having like a hard life, so I don't blame no one for my actions that I did. It's just I didn't grow up knowing right or wrong.
When you were when did CPS order you into care of a foster home?
Yes, sir.
And how was your experience with that foster family?
It was bad, real bad.
You still keep in touch with that foster family?
No, sir.
You still keep in touch with your mother, your father regularly?
No, sir.
So when you go to prison, you said you're going to take parenting classes?
Yes, sir.
Why would you need to learn how to be a loving father?
I was never taught like how to be one. I never had that growing up, so I would like to learn. So when I go home, I could be one. That's my thing.
What about the drugs?
With the drugs as well. I plan on going down there and taking drug tests too as well. I had a bad drug problem growing up, and I would like to fix that before I do go home.
And why didn't you ever graduate high school?
I was always incarcerated and like not focused.
Well, what are you going to be focused on when you go to prison?
My GED.
Is it, you're just going to go to prison and they're going to hand you your GED?
No, sir. I'm gonna go to class and get my GED. My GED.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
Anything else?
Nothing, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Vega, why does it take you going to prison for you to wake up and realize that you right what's right from wrong? I don't understand that. Like, why does it take going to prison for you to say, I'm going to get my GED, I'm going to be in my son's life, I'm going to be a good parent, I'm going to get off drugs? Because I'm looking at your history and you've been in trouble with the law as a juvenile since 2013. And it started with graffiti at a church or a school. And you were on deferred for that for 6 months. And I know, because I've toured their facilities, I know they give you an opportunity for your GED and for you to do all of that and get your life on track. And then you pick up another case in 2014. Then you are in need of supervision in 2015. And then you have a possession in 2015 and evading in 2015. And this, what I'm talking about, is just your juvenile history. And it goes on and on and on. 2016, 2017, all juvenile. And then you have this incident out of Waco, where I'm assuming you went to TYC. I know they don't call it TYC anymore, but you went there. And it appears that you didn't learn anything. And then now we're here for this. And how old are you?
23.
All right, you're 23. And I know what young people think because I was in your position. When people get sentenced to go to prison and they're young, they think it's the end of the world for them. But time goes by so quickly. I can't believe how quickly this year is passing. And you still have a chance to improve your life. Like, there's someone here who's dead. They're not, and I want you to think about this, they're not having graduations. If they were going to graduate, you can say, hey, that person was a horrible person too, or did horrible things. But guess what? They're not going to graduate. They're not going to see any grandchildren maybe they were going to have. They're not going to get a chance to improve themselves here on the planet because they're no longer with us. So there are many things that they won't be able to do. I don't understand why, if you have a child who's 6 years old, instead of doing this, why were you not spending as much time with them as you could? The witness tells me that you're very, very loving. Then a very loving person would be, I want to spend as much time with my son as I can because I've missed out so much on his life. I went through Child Protective Services, so I want to make sure my son doesn't go through that. I didn't have a good father, so I want to make sure my son has that. That's not so much about you knowing right from wrong. That's just like common. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. The court will hear argument. His cap is 25 years. State, I'm assuming you're asking for 25?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. And defense?
Our defense is asking for mercy, and we're asking for that in a situation where there's been a death, a murder, and that life can't be brought back. So there's nothing we can say to change that fact. This young man, having growing up without a father and mother, there's nothing we can do to change that either. This young man making poor choices, not being around his son as his son was growing up, and being rather with people who are involved in drugs and guns. There's nothing we can say to change that either. But we have heard from him. He knows that this is pretty much his last chance to turn his life around. He doesn't want to spend the rest of his life in prison. So we are asking for mercy, Your Honor. He has explained what his plans and goals are to the court, being get his high school diploma so he can get a decent job out there, and take enough education and courses and therapy so that he's able to break his chains of addiction, Your Honor, and also learn to be a good parent to his son who's out there waiting for him, and his wife, Miss Brenda Torres, to be a good husband to his wife. We're asking for leniency from the court, full knowledge that we can't change the fact that we're dealing with a murder here, Your Honor.
All right. And Mr. Vega, I want you to know at some point in time, our actions are our own. We can no longer blame it on the rough childhood we had, because a lot of people had a rough childhood. A lot of people had parents that were not in their lives. Some people had parents who were in their lives and shouldn't have been in their lives. But I do take in consideration when I hear that, because as a defense attorney, I used to always get upset when the state would say, well, this person didn't commit a murder and they had a rough life. I want you to know I look at people as individuals. You understand? All right. So I'm going to sentence you to 25 years in the prison. There's an affirmative finding of deadly weapon. Take in consideration 2020 CR 6409, night mag number 68664 and 674688. That's the county court cause number 674688. I'll ask for you to have the therapeutic community. You'll have to request that. That's to help you with any drug addictions that you may have. But if you don't request it, they're definitely not going to give it to you. And I can't make them give it to you. I'm going to do a no contact order with Xavier Vega until the expiration of $15 years. At that time, he'll be 21. He'll be able to hopefully make a decision on whether or not he wants to see you. So there'll be no contact with Xavier Vega. Showing you what's entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendants' Rights to Appeal. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it? And did you sign it?
Yes, ma'am.
Because this is a plea bargain agreement, because I followed your plea bargain agreement, and because you waived your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. And because this is a felony conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question over what a weapon or ammunition is, you'll need to speak to an attorney. Do you understand? All right. I wish you nothing but the best. Good luck to you.